Welcome to the Only Male Cruz Show, the podcast. I am the only male Cruz. Be sure to hit the like button, share, subscribe, replay gang, leave a comment. You know I want to hear from you. Copyright disclaimer regarding fair use is in full effect. The views and opinions expressed in this show, you guessed it, they're all mine. Let's go to work. Okay. Welcome to the Only Male Cruz Show, the podcast. I am the only male Cruz. Be sure to hit the like button, share, subscribe, replay gang, leave a comment because you know I want to hear from you. All right, based on today's title, we are talking about an alleged grumpy white man who is suing. He's a city worker and he's suing the city of Seattle. He says because the city is forcing him to feel guilty about systemic racism. And I do believe that is a funny joke, okay? Hold on just a minute here. Let me just quickly, got Lasandra Gillard in the house. Girl, we got. Trying to adjust this microphone real quick. Hold on, let me go on pause real quick. Okay, I think we're good. All right, so the problem with this, and shout out to a number one mod, Baby Shay in the house. Y'all do like Baby Shay say, do like she say. Okay, so the problem with this case, all right, is that I think this is going to backfire on this man, okay? Because he's evidently he's a white man. He is suing the mayor. He named him specifically. And I mean, the case, when I was reading the documents in the case, I was rolling, okay? But see, the thing is with this is that I believe what's going to happen is his case is going to set the precedent for black people to be able to start winning some cases, okay? Because everything he's crying about is what black Americans have been going to EEOC about, complaining about. And, you know, when you're black and you go to EEOC, they try to play like what you mean? What you talking about, Willis? So, yeah, white man, do us a favor. Don't handle our light work for us. Handle our light work for us. So this right here is the mayor of Seattle, okay? And if he looks like he is not white, then you're absolutely correct. He's actually biracial. He's Japanese and Black American. So I found that to be interesting. But let's get into the lawsuit real quick. Let me give y'all some of these quick little details. So an ex-Seattle city worker is suing his former employer, alleging he was discriminated against because of his white race. The guy's name is Joshua Dimert. He claims he was forced to work in a racially hostile work environment, and working for the municipality was unbearable because he was forced to attend training sessions about ending institutionalized racism and race-based disparities in city government. And he claims he was made to feel guilty about being white. Now, I don't know anybody who has any experience with working in a hostile work environment or being forced to take like DEI type training, things of that nature. Essentially, this guy just didn't want to take the courses. But his complaints are raw, okay? Now, it says the lawsuit obtained by Atlanta Black Star, shout out to Atlanta Black Star, says the workplace hostility stemmed from the city's Race and Social Justice Initiative. Now, that's been in effect since 2004, and the purpose of it is to address institutional racism and to achieve racial equity in Seattle. And this plaintiff is saying that although the initiative was created to level certain playing fields, he says it actually disenfranchised them. Okay, come on now. Okay, yeah, I know they're doing updates right now on R. Kelly and the state trial. I'm not certain if those charges are being dropped or whatever. But you want to talk about institutionalized racism? Holla at your boy Kales. Okay, all of that. So anyway, the city routinely urged this plaintiff to join race-based groups and required him to participate in training sessions. And this guy feels like he was demeaned and degraded. So I'm not going to read all through this article because I want to get to the lawsuit. Okay, I want to get to these details. This man is a trip. Now he says that when he worked with the city, that everything started off great. He was excited to use his skills and his expertise to serve valuable, or as you were, vulnerable and marginalized communities as a social worker in Seattle's Human Services Department. I don't believe that, or you wouldn't be filing this lawsuit. He claims he's a devoted father with a background in government work, and he thought his new job would provide stability for his family. He said, he had a good working relationship with folks. He says, but he began to understand that his race, now he's a white man, that his race would negatively impact not only his day-to-day work life, but his opportunities for career advancement. The reason why this is important is because if we were to flip the script right now, and if this were a black man or a black woman, this case wouldn't even be in the mix. Because what happened is this gentleman went to EEOC, he filed a complaint. EEOC, typically what EEOC will do is they will offer a right to sue. And that typically, to my understanding, is done if they don't find cause for the most part. So even EEOC didn't find any validity to his complaint. But nevertheless, he went on ahead and filed his lawsuit. I'm just going to give you a couple of quick things. Well, you know what? And let me start here. So this is the racial demographic of Seattle. Now, in the blue is the white population. Over 65.81%, the city is of white people. The next largest group in the city of Seattle, as far as ethnicity is concerned, are Asians. And if you can see this orange, the 7.06%, that's black, that's African Americans, black Americans that reside in the city. So I don't know how this white man is claiming that he's being discriminated against in a hostile work environment and this and that. The city's predominantly white. And then the next ethnicity is Asians. But I think that he's trying to really throw something at the mayor because, as I said earlier, the mayor is half black and Asian, okay? Japanese and black American. That's his mix. All right, so let me get into just some of his complaint. He said that they made him take these cases. He says that he went and complained and that his complaints were ignored. He said that, he says here, on or around April 2017, his supervisor refused to give him any assistance, telling him that he should step down because he was on FMLA and his needs conflicted with the business needs. So he didn't appreciate that. He goes, moreover, she berated me for using his white privilege to keep the position and told him that he was responsible for denying a person of color an opportunity for promotion. Now, I can't believe that. So essentially, the man wanted FMLA, and he went to a supervisor. The supervisor said, "You're not getting any more," and they can't not give you FMLA once you exhaust it. It's gone. And it doesn't matter what your race is. It doesn't matter what your race is. When you no longer have that FMLA, it's it. It's a wrap. So it sounds like he's complaining that he didn't get, nobody cut him a deal or something. Um, and then he says further that as a result of his supervisor's unrelenting coercion and racial harassment, lack of support, he went on ahead and stepped down from his position, despite faithfully fulfilling his job duties. Okay, so let him tell his own story. He's an awesome guy doing awesome work. Let me shout out the comments real quick because I see something moving around. Yeah, absolutely. Let me do this real quick. I appreciate y'all pulling up, okay? We don't have a full house right now, but it's all right. Y'all catch the replay. Replay gang, leave a comment because I want to hear from you. Absolutely, Baby Shay. Wow, really? And ain't no way. Now, I showed y'all the racial demographics of the city, so I don't even feel like there's even an attitude of that, a spirit of that. But let me keep going. Moreover, city documents reveal that this grumpy white man, that his position was not renewed and it was terminated before the full expiration of the position. That shouldn't matter to him because he stepped down. He wasn't working there. So whether they cut his role or whatever, it ended. Because instead, the city waited until the grumpy white man had stepped down to follow his recommendation. And what they did, instead of piling on all of the workload that he had, and they had to put new people in it to still do his work, they split it up. And so now he's saying, yeah, look at them. They wouldn't lighten my workload. They wouldn't give me a raise. They wouldn't give me additional FMLA. So I quit. And as soon as I quit, they got rid of my position officially. And then they split the workload between two people. Okay? That ain't got nothing to do with you, man. You're not there no more. And so he goes, not only did they promote two people of color with no supervisory experience, but the department required that this Mr. Dearmark, the grumpy white man, we'll call him that because I can't pronounce his last name, that he assists both leads for over a year since neither knew the program rules or how to perform the functions of their new jobs. Okay, so let me correct something I said. He did quit his job, but when they split these responsibilities up, he was still there, and they required him to train the new people. Now, I don't know about y'all, but has anybody ever had to train somebody who was new to the company and they were getting, their role was a supervisor or a higher grade than you, but yet you still had to train them? I mean, that's how they do. But that's okay. I complain all day, grumpy white man. Get your complaint on. Because if you win this case, you are going to be setting precedent for Black Americans that have to deal with this all the time, and they can't hardly get a case. Can't afford a lawyer. Shout out to Lysandra Giller. Girl, we always got it. So go ahead on. Pay for these expensive lawyers to help Black Americans in the future. Because we're going to be calling on this case as precedent. Because he's making it real nice and easy. Really, Zane? Okay. You see what I'm talking about? Well, just hold on. Hold on, Zane. Because as soon as this case is won, all right, you'll be able to have your attorneys use this as precedent to support your position. Because, see, they won't let us do it. But go on, white man, do us a favor. All right. So the two people that they hired that this grumpy white man had to train, one's name was Mr. Said or Mr. Syed, and the other one is Miss Nguyen. Okay? Now he goes on further and he's complaining about both of them. Okay? Both of them. All right? And let me see if I can jump to that real quick. Because that's what had me rolling. Let me see. Before I do that, let me just make this part clear. So the training that this guy had to take, which every city employee was required to take it. Now I'm waiting to see a good argument as to why this man in particular, should not have to take mandated training that everyone else has to take. Now I know that this guy's probably, um, he might have some wiggle room because it's, diversity, equity, and inclusion type training about race and equality and equity. Um, but if that's the policy of the company and you don't want to get down with the get down, you don't have to stay. But for you to sue the mayor of the city because you're being required to take this training, that reeks of white privilege. Now, I don't know how y'all feel. Let me know in the comments. I sure would like to know what y'all think. So the Race and Social Justice Initiative is based on the foundational premise that American society has internalized and normalized culture and practices that are rooted in white supremacy, colonialism, classism, Christian, I can't even pronounce this word, sexism, physical ableism, mental health, and a whole bunch of other stuff. Okay. And this is what the city is trying to make sure their employees get a thorough understanding of. And to me, that makes sense, because if you have a diverse population in your city and you run the city and you work for the city, you do need to be able to know how to interact with multiple ethnicities, multiple cultures. Now, maybe you don't necessarily need to know about the normalized practices which are rooted in white supremacy, but it doesn't hurt for you to know, because your population, your residents, your culture, your ethnicities within the city, they believe this. Some of them believe this, if not all of them. Anyway, this program aims to end American culture because it was created by white, wealthy, Christian, cisgendered, straight, non-disabled men coming from Europe who wanted to protect their place within hierarchy and empire. In its place, it seeks to create a relational culture that interrupts the many overlapping aspects of white supremacy culture. I don't see nothing wrong with it, but of course I'm black, so, of course I wouldn't see nothing wrong with it. Let me see what y'all talking about real quick. Right, Lysandra, just straight up BS. Let me see. What in the world? What's it? Seattle, baby. Seattle's our name. Seattle. And, and the reason why this may seem so progressive, because like I said, the mayor is Blasian, half black and Asian. He's Japanese. His mom is Japanese, and his dad is foundational Black American. Okay, so good for that. We need some of this type of diversity. All right, so let me scroll on down, because I don't really want to keep y'all long. So here's one of his examples. He goes, grumpy white man reported discrimination he had experienced from his supervisor and others, which were not redressed. For example, in 2016, Director Mays called the grumpy man to her office and berated him for attempting to correct co-workers' discriminatory behavior towards a white applicant. Now, the director stated that it was impossible to be racist towards white people, and she did not initiate any employment actions against the person that he had the issue with. It says he reported this incident to multiple managers and directors, including his HR representative, but the city took no action. And so Mr. Grumpy also reported this issue in a June 21st email to a senior person. And looks like there was a group of them. Now, I don't know about y'all. If y'all have ever filed a complaint on your job and the people just brushed it aside and told y'all that ain't it. This is policy. This is this and that. So shout out to one Pap. Pat, when I was putting this story together, I thought about you, girl. And look, somebody say drop the link because we can chop this up. It ain't going to be here long, but we can definitely chop it up. Zane, what you said, Seattle, yeah, he definitely feeling himself to try to sue the mayor. Absolutely. And I don't know a lot about Seattle, but I do appreciate the progressiveness of this mayor. I certainly do. Yeah. All right. So Mr. Grumpy informed the supervisor of the divisive and discriminatory comments he received from a fellow coworker. And Mr. Grumpy also noted, "This is not the first time I have dealt with increased discrimination in the city." And he explained that the lack of concern for this blatant discrimination from past management and a valid fear of retribution had led him to believe it was better for him to be silent than to disrupt the city of Seattle status quo. Listen, I'm glad this man is having all these problems, because all this man has to do is be a black man. And I would say, brother, ain't that it? Because ain't that how they do you? Yeah, notice how they do you. Yeah, notice how they do black people on the job when they want to be discriminatory. Okay? And you complain, and then they act like we don't know what you're talking about. So maybe the people that have filed complaints like this, maybe those people who filed the complaint, maybe they really didn't know what they were talking about, since nobody did anything. And then here's Mr. Grumpy, and nobody did anything in his case. So yeah, we hope you win, Mr. Grumpy, because you're going to help black people out quadrillion. Okay? You're going to help black people out. Yeah, so on November 14th of 2018, Mr. Grumpy contacted his union representative. Now, when I read this part, I said, wait, hold on. If the union didn't put an end to this stuff, I don't think this man really has a case. I don't think this man can't have no case. So he contacted his union representative about the racially hostile work environment that he was experiencing and the toll it was taking on his health. Okay. And so he says that he met with the union person, I believe that is Mr. Van Eck, for 2 hours, and he discussed many of his concerns and details. And the union person, Mr. Eck, Mr. Eck, the union person, told Mr. Grumpy that he would meet with the supervisor and someone else from the Seattle Department of Human Resources about racially segregated trainings. But Mr. Grumpy never received a clear answer to his concerns, and ultimately he feels like Mr. Eck ignored him. Now, here's the issue. When you are trying to teach something, especially when it comes to diversity, equity, inclusion, sometimes it might be necessary to break it down based on race. Sometimes you got to break it down based on race, like if you're going to do a focus group or something like that. Or if you're going to do, you might do it categorically, like if there's a handicapped or disabled or what have you. I forgot what that appropriate term is, or if you're female, or if you're this, or if you're that. I mean, that's just to really, so you can dig into and really find out, what the people are experiencing. But this guy had a problem with it. He says he got an email. He said he got an email inviting him to a white training. Let me see. Yeah. It says on December 4th, Mr. Grumpy received an email from a planning and development specialist from the Human Services Department, inviting him to review a meeting agenda for the White Caucus. And this was one of the city's racially segregated groups designed for staff members the city classified as white. And he responded to her, telling her remove him from the email list. And noted that he found that the representative that sent the email, he found her actions to be racially offensive, and that he would file harassment charges with the EEOC if she continued. if she continued. Now, somebody holler at me in the comments and tell me, is that what y'all think? So far, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't see a problem with them trying to break the training down and get some clarification. So, anyway, in October 2019, Mr. Grumpy believed that his team lead, Mr. Sad, now y'all, I mentioned him before, that his team lead, Mr. Sad, a city employee, had been misusing the human services development system for personal gain. And so he dropped a dime on Mr. Sad. Okay? And so he dropped a dime on him, and the person he dropped a dime on him to informed the supervisor about the incident. So Mr. Grumpy provided them with evidence, but nothing was done to address Mr. Sad's actions. Instead, the supervisor told Mr. Grumpy to keep quiet and be silent. I don't believe that's true, y'all. I think he's embellishing here, making it up a little bit. Okay? Let me see what's going on here. The story is kind of odd because it is usually us. Thank you, Lysandra. Girl, you know we all we got. It is usually us. And I wonder, did he take a complaint and just copy the work verbatim? Shout out to Just the Tea, please. Thanks for pulling up. Y'all be sure to like, share, subscribe if you haven't already. Replay gang, leave a comment. You know I want to hear from you. All right. So I don't believe they told him to sit down and be quiet and don't say nothing. You've already spoken to a union rep. So and you got a union, come on now. Come on, okay. But anyway, shortly after that, Mr. Grumpy reported Mr. Saeed, and Mr. Saeed verbally accosted Mr. Grumpy, claiming that he was complicit in the sins of slavery. Hold on, let me start from the beginning. Hold on, wait a minute. Mr. Grumpy said that he reported Mr. Saeed, and Mr. Saeed verbally accosted him, claiming that he was complicit in the sins of slavery, parroting language promoted in that training program. Subsequently, Mr. Saeed said that he would publicly accost Mr. Grumpy in the office. I'm sorry, I ain't buying that. So the man had already told you you're responsible for the sins of slavery. And then he also told you he was going to publicly accost you in the office. See, here's where he's making it up. You're making it bad for us, Mr. Grumpy. We need you to win this case for Black Americans across the country. Because what you're telling, what you're reporting, what you're suing for, this is the reality of a lot of Black Americans, okay? And a lot of times we can't get nowhere because the people trying to act like they can't understand what we talking about. So come on, Mr. Grumpy, we need you to win this case, all right? Shoot. All right, so on February 19th of 2020, this is what Mr. Grumpy said. Mr. Grumpy said that Mr. Saeed chest bumped him, got in his face, told him that he had white privilege, and suggested that Mr. Grumpy had racist motives for reporting him. And he also said that Mr. Saeed also asserted that Mr. Grumpy and his race were to blame. Here we go. For the atrocities in the world, like slavery, segregation, wealth disparities. And Mr. Grumpy further goes on to say that Mr. Saeed also implied that Mr. Saeed, was not responsible for his actions because the racist system drove him to commit fraud. Yeah, Mr. Grumpy, hold on. Let me do this real quick. Yeah, that's Mr. Grumpy. Oh, Mr. Grumpy, you gonna be all right. You gonna be all right. Come on, y'all. Now, y'all tell me in the comments, because y'all know we've lived through this. Y'all know we done lived through this here, okay? Now, how they gonna come up in? Do y'all believe that Mr. Saeed, thank you, Zane. Do y'all think Mr. Saeed came up there and told him, you're the reason for this one man? You're the reason for slavery, segregation, wealth disparities. And the reason why I'm committing fraud is because you drove me to it. This racist system drove me. Come on, y'all. It's funny. It's funny. But we still want you to win, Mr. Grumpy. We need you to win because we need this precedent, okay? Sure. Mr. Grumpy immediately reported the altercation to the ethics department, but the city took no action against Mr. Saeed. Okay. In February 2020, Mr. Grumpy met with a director named Tanya Kim, where he discussed the unethical and illegal behavior he witnessed during his time in the department, as well as the city's failure to address incidents when he reported them. Mr. Grumpy reported incidents of discrimination and harassment on several occasions to supervisors, co-workers, and other city employees prior to filing his EEOC charges. The city knew Mr. Grumpy was experiencing a racially hostile work environment and did not make any serious effort to address it. Now, I know this happens for Black people. I know it happens for Black people. Maybe for a soap opera, but in real life, it wouldn't be as plain and out there like Mr. Grumpy says. Girl, ain't that right? Now, this happens for Black people. Okay, all right. So, during an employee orientation, the city explains that there are mandatory reporters. Okay, which we all pretty much know what that is. It's a person or entity that's obligated to immediately report or investigate claims of harassment, discrimination, retaliation, or misconduct. Management representations, including supervisors, managers, leads, etc., are identified as mandatory reporters. Mr. Grumpy alerted supervisors, managers, leads, directors, fellow coworkers, to the discrimination and racial harassment he was experiencing. Moreover, Mr. Grumpy continued reporting the discrimination and harassment he experienced after he filed his EEOC charges. Okay, now you know, if you file an EEOC complaint, you don't keep going to the job, especially once EEOC has let the employer know that they are on notice. You don't go to the job, you go to the EEOC folks. Hey, this happened. You keep your documentation. Okay? So, come on, man. Anyway, he's saying that the department requires that all employees participate in race and social justice initiative training, and that it aggressively promotes the concept of white privilege and the collective guilt that white employees like Mr. Grumpy purportedly bear for social inequality. Y'all know good and damn well ain't no company teaching that. Come on. He's an idiot because he thinks that's for him. Girl. Well, like I said, pay the money, Grumpy, because we sure enough need a precedent. Shout out to Ernestine Lee. Thanks for pulling up, boo. Now that hits home, and Mr. Grumpy sees how it feels to be a regular human without privilege, and he is really laying it on. Love the dramatics. I need to try. Yeah, try you some of that, Zane, and keep your eye on this case. Because if Mr. Grumpy wins, the courthouse is going to be full. Everybody and their mama is going to be filing some lawsuits. He's trying to have his cake and eat it too. I thought you knew. Ain't that it? So, let me get a little bit more into it. He says here, as part of the race and social justice training, Mr. Grumpy attended a 2-day Undoing Institutional Racism. This was hosted by a person named Raza and taught by the people that have the training. Okay. This workshop is rooted in critical race theory. Now, why you throw that in there? Okay, we know why. Because critical race theory is banned in at least 32, 38, damn near 40 states now. And they are trying to use employment situations just like this, so there can be no type of diversity, equity, inclusion training, or racial equality and things of that. So they're trying to make those laws extend to the workplace as well. So he goes, this workshop was rooted in critical race theory, and the facilitators at the event stated, now I don't believe this, y'all tell me if y'all do. He says the facilitators at the event stated that white people are like the devil, that racism is in white people's DNA, and that white people are cannibals. Now, what company, and mind you, this company, this training organization is created, is developed, it's by a black organization. So he's trying to take everybody down with him. Okay? He's trying to take them all down with him. What you say? You know it, man. I would love to be there, girl. Ooh. Let me see. Mr. Grumpy win. If Mr. Grumpy wins, we in there, girl. Say it's on there. You already know. We is in there. So, and I don't believe, ain't nobody gonna say all that. They need to stop all that. The people are cannibals. Now that kind of stuff has been said, but nobody's going to say that. No professional organization is going to say that. And you got a contract with the city since 2004. You're not going to say all that. I'm just not believing it. But come on, Mr. Grumpy, come on, because we know they done said whacked racist stuff to us, and the people say, "Oh, what do you mean?" It's okay, Mr. Grumpy for the win. So, Mr. Grumpy's supervisor told him during one of their meetings that co-workers were still talking about his comments from the workshop. And Mr. Grumpy, he said that since then the co-workers are treating Mr. Grumpy differently and would call him racist and hateful. His colleagues used their work emails to berate and entertain violence against him, referring to him as some asshole, or the reincarnation of the people that shot Native Americans from trains, rounded up Jews for the camps, hunted down gypsies in Europe, and runaway slaves in America, noting that it was not worth addressing his concerns because he would just come back with more stupidity, and that someone should get a guy to swing by when Mr. Grumpy is in the restroom and beat him bloody. Y'all know, didn't nobody say that in an email? I'm going to need to see those damn emails. And then they're going to need to be certified as being authentic. I'm not buying that. But tell the story, Mr. Grumpy. We hope you win, baby. We hope you win. Okay. So Mr. Grumpy said he wasn't able to avoid discriminatory messaging and harassment once the training requirements were completed. He says every meeting, activity, and city summit incorporated training had no opportunity for a reprieve from racial harassment. And in addition to the formal training Mr. Grumpy had to participate in, he says Mr. Grumpy had to receive a fully performing. He took this training, and then he had to take all the training so that he could get his employee ranking of fully performing to meet expectations. And so that was problematic to him. One example of these additional trainings is the Theory of Change workshop he attended, where he said he was required to evaluate his department according to the standards that had been outlined, called Characteristics of White Supremacy Culture. Now, I'm going to say this. I get it that this might be uncomfortable, not only for Mr. Grumpy, but for a lot of people. Even black people who, like them Pillsbury biscuits. This is probably uncomfortable training, like the Van Jones of the world. They probably don't want to take this kind of training. And that's okay. But you still need to know this. You still need to operate. So maybe, maybe the training, maybe they need to, instead of having it for a whole day, maybe they need to have it for a whole month. Give it to them in small doses. But you need to understand it, because you, especially working for the city and dealing with people who, unlike Mr. Grumpy, when they file their complaints, okay, they get treated like Mr. Grumpy, but Mr. Grumpy has a greater chance of winning this lawsuit than most of the people in his city. Okay? Now, Mr. Grumpy may not want to acknowledge that he has white privilege, but I would bet bottom dollar that he does. Okay? So anyway, Mr. Grumpy was strongly encouraged to participate in the race-based affinity groups, caucuses, employee resource groups, and department levels, despite his repeated objections to the exercises and the materials. Mr. Grumpy said, I ain't having this. I don't. Mr. Grumpy probably went to HR every damn time they looked up, and he was standing there just like that. I don't want to take this training. I don't want to take this training. It ain't right. Now, let me cut across the field and tell y'all that Mr. Grumpy had the audacity to try to change the training. Mr. Grumpy says, shit, the training should be like this. Now, let me find that in here, if I can. And I'm gonna make sure that I post the article to the comments in here so y'all can read it in detail and get your, get what you want. I'm scrolling just a little bit here, y'all, just to see. All right. I'm not finding it right off the top, but one of the problems, let me see. The city expected white employees to join the white affinity group and pressured them to accept that white employees and individuals of European origin are all inherently racist, privileged, powerful, and consciously or unconsciously to blame for systemic racism in the workplace and society due to their white privilege. You guys know damn well ain't no company is about to hire a black organization and allow them to train this. Now, come on now. Come on. Now, they might lead you to the water, and you ain't got to drink it, because the truth is the truth, because everything you're saying is true. But didn't nobody sit up there in the training and holler at you and yell at you, because we would have had a viral video of all that by now. Don't y'all think somebody would have snuck out a cell phone some type of way? See, that's where you messed up, Mr. Grumpy. You didn't put in here that you got some cell phone footage of it actually going down in the DMs. So that's where you messed up. Okay? Because you know good and damn well, if as black Americans we were in the training and they was talking trash to us like this, y'all know good and damn well we've been and went IG Live, Facebook Live, YouTube Live. Shh, come on now. And you ain't got no video? All right, Mr. Grumpy, we still want you to win though, baby. We want you to win. But you say, Lysandra, I'm sitting here working and shaking my head, Mel, but agreeing with you. You already know. So anyway, he goes on and says, white caucus groups are expressly accountable to the change team and the Latinx, African descent, and Asian Pacific Islander caucuses. So evidently they were split up among that. And to me, if you want to break out into some groups and discuss some cultural things, or break out in some groups and maybe, get the, maybe, get an understanding. I don't think there's anything wrong with it, because to me, you can come back as a collective and say, okay, here's what we discussed. We all discussed the same topic, and here's what we found. Because these small groups are really a microcosm of the city that all these people are employed with. So, of all places, of course they need this training, and it should be in depth. So he says in these caucuses, Mr. Grumpy was encouraged to work through guilt that he should bear due to his race. Yeah, I know damn well that shit don't sound, excuse my language. Yeah, I know that shit don't sound, come on, Mr. Grumpy. But you might win though, Mr. Grumpy, because what, like it or not, and you know you got it. You know you got some white privilege going on. You might win. So Mr. Grumpy consistently opposed invitations to join the city of Seattle's White Caucuses, despite expressing his discomfort and communication, how these types of communications and programs were taking a toll on his health. And there are statistics about the implications of Black Americans dealing with racism and how it negatively affects our health, our mental health, and our physical health. So again, Mr. Grumpy, Mr. Grumpy, you might win. Because there's proof that, these type of racial discriminatory environments, they will, over time, they'll mess with you. All right. So, Mr. Grumpy, let me see. He says he is taking a toll on his health and that he did not want to receive further communication from the city's White Caucuses. He continued to receive communications from the group. The city staff never encouraged or told Mr. Grumpy that he was allowed to attend any other affinity groups other than the White Caucuses. So, that sounds like privilege to me. Sound to me like you're offended, Mr. Grumpy, because you think your privilege should allow you to attend all these other groups, these other affinity groups. But the other people have to, they got to follow the rules of the job. So he goes, he was never allowed to attend any other affinity groups other than the White Caucuses, and based on how co-workers were treated, if they attempted to attend training for the wrong race, Mr. Grumpy knew that any attempt to attend other affinity groups would result in a reprimand or further harassment. All right, Mr. Grumpy, write this shit. All right, let me see, because I ain't trying to keep y'all here long. I'm just trying to let y'all know, here's what we're heading into in 2023, okay? All right. Says, Mr. Grumpy sent an email where he explained that he felt all of the race and social justice training, including the affinity caucuses, are blatantly racist, stereotype people based on superficial characteristics, and apply negative attributes to entire groups of people based off the color of their skin. Mr. Grumpy expressed his concern about constantly being bombarded with racially denigrating material on the City of Seattle intranet, splash pages, incoming emails, and in material dispersed around the workplace. So as long as Mr. Grumpy's feeling comfortable, everybody else, y'all just have to make do. Like we've been doing. Okay? We've been making do. We need you to win this case, Mr. Grumpy. We need you to set the damn precedent. What you say, Zane? We need Edison order force them to understand microgroups is helpful and having an open dialogue regarding the subject. Come on and spit the truth, Zane. So why is Mr. Grumpy acting like he don't understand? But okay. So Lysandra said, if he don't win, he will see how. Ain't that it? So still we rise. Still we rise, right? If you win, you win. You win for our team, Mr. Grumpy. If you lose, you still don't get no invite to the cookout. But now you know how it feels. Holla at you, girl. All right, let's see here. So he was tired, getting bombarded. Mr. Grumpy proposed the creation of a non-race-based affinity group that opposes stereotypes. Well, I can tell you why that's not going to work, Mr. Grumpy. And we ain't mad that you had that great idea. But don't get mad because your idea isn't part of the program. Because we get told that all the time. He was told by senior officers, the senior officer that he was not authorized to begin work on it and that it would need to support the city's commitment to workforce equity based on the principles of the city's plan. So how come Mr. Grumpy, Zane, I gotta tell you, girl, I love you. Yes, I'm crying too. Now see, why did Mr. Grumpy take all his time to write a plan contrary to what his organization is trying to do, to what the company, his employer, is trying to do? Mr. Grumpy comes up with an alternative plan. Here's the problem, Mr. Grumpy. Y'all been doing it like that. And that's why you got the new plan. This plan been in effect since 2004. But you want to come through and write a plan your way. Now, if that don't sound like entitlement, I don't know what does. Mr. Grumpy also learned that rather than addressing his criticisms of the training program, the senior officer apologized to his immediate supervisors for the potentially harmful things that Mr. Grumpy had stated in the email, which was forwarded to a union representative and political organizer. Why are we talking about politics? I know this is a city job, but the politics ain't got nothing to do with you, Mr. Grumpy. You're an employee working for the city. This ain't got nothing to do with no re-elections and things of that nature. So anyway, it says that this email was forwarded. Mr. Grumpy feels like the senior officer should have apologized to him because the senior officer forwarded the email from Mr. Grumpy to a union representative and political organizer who suggested that Mr. Grumpy was taking a position that could result in insubordination. So you may not like the training, Mr. Grumpy, but you have to take it. It's company policy. And you might come up with a good idea, Mr. Grumpy, but the city doesn't have to implement or execute it because that ain't what they're doing. Okay? But go ahead, file a lawsuit. So let me see if I can jump through here. He says throughout his entirety of his employment, Mr. Grumpy also attended meetings where supervisors forced their employees to identify their race and to stand and affirm where they ranked themselves on a defined continuum of racism. He felt pressured into conforming to some of these exercises for fear of retaliation and hostility from his supervisors and coworkers. Now, I'm going to agree with Mr. Grumpy right here. I don't think that's appropriate, but see, I don't know if Mr. Grumpy's telling the truth, okay? Because as far as I'm concerned, Mr. Grumpy, I don't believe nothing Mr. Grumpy's saying. I don't believe any of this is Mr. Grumpy's story, okay? He's fabricated some things and taken some pieces out of some legitimate Black American complaints and cobbled this together, all right? But if this were a fact that he was in a training and the trainers made him stand up and say, "Hi, my name is Mr. Grumpy, I'm white, and I'm still racist." If that was something or something similar to that he had to do, that would be wrong. You can't do that. Now, you can't do that. That's why I don't believe that statement. But like I said, do all the embellishing you want to, Mr. Grumpy, because guess what? If you win, the reality of our situations, damn sure it's not going to be this embellished. Okay? So the more embellished your situation is, Mr. Grumpy, if you win, you're going to make our reality look good. Okay? Shoot. I wonder if anyone has given Mr. Grumpy the option to either take the class or leave. Then, boom, lawsuit filed, perhaps. Abso-damn-lutely. What you say, plot twist? Mr. Grumpy wins, but is still required to take the class if he wants to continue working for the city. Ain't that the truth? That'd be one hell of a plot twist. Well, let me throw another plot twist in it. Mr. Grumpy loses, Mr. Grumpy don't want to quit his job yet, and Mr. Grumpy still got to take the damn training, or he can't work at the spot no more. Okay. So, you know what, y'all? Like I said, this suit was filed just in November, and we're going to keep an eye on this one. At least I'm going to. Let me tell you this one before I cut up out of here. Wait a minute. Hold on. What you say, Zane? Aha! Ain't that it? Ain't that it? So he's still not winning. He ain't winning. He gonna learn today, though. You gonna learn this information, Mr. Grumpy. Now, you ain't got to like it, but you gonna learn it. Okay? How about that? You gonna learn it. Yeah, that is a major plot twist. That's a double whammy on that end. Yeah, what'd you say? Yeah, we do. We got to follow the case on it. We're going to have to. We're going to have to. I wonder, is it going to move quickly or is it going to move slow? All right, let me give y'all this and I'm going to get on up out of here. All right. In 2020, while Mr. Grumpy was attempting to cook his food. What you cooking, Mr. Grumpy? While Mr. Grumpy was attempting to cook his food, a group of co-workers was sitting at one of the few lunchroom tables, openly talking about white privilege. The group consisted of a supervisor and I think another supervisor and some other co-workers. Now, Mr. Grumpy joined their conversation. That sounded suspect already, y'all. Members of the group told Mr. Grumpy that his response was invalid because he was white and did not have a right to speak about Black oppression, and that Mr. Grumpy was attempting to discredit their lived experiences with his white privilege. They also proceeded to make general disparaging comments about white people. You guys know that the city, y'all know good and damn well the city has policies. I'm gonna try to find them. You know they got policy. You can't be out here cussing folks out. You know they got policies of how you're supposed to treat your co-workers. Don't do that, Mr. Grumpy. See, now you're fabricating, or so it would seem, or so it would appear. It says, so Mr. Grumpy's one of his co-workers said he began a co-worker began a discussion in the lunchroom in which she stated that white people are to be blamed for all the atrocities. It's interesting how one co-worker is using atrocities, another co-worker is using atrocities. Mr. Grumpy. So he claims his co-worker said that the white people are to blame for all atrocities, and that the United States was built upon a system of white supremacy. She told Mr. Grumpy that he was privileged and labeled him a racist because he favored capitalism. This employee also said that his words were violence and that he was invading her safe space. This type of discrimination and harassment was regular and routine, often occurring several times a week, and was encouraged by the training organization. Okay. I'm going to be honest with you. It's out of selfishness that I want Mr. Grumpy to win this case. But the judge should be throwing this case all the hell out. How somebody come and chest bump you, and how does everybody think you're a racist and to blame for all of the atrocities and because of you, Mr. Grumpy, people are committing fraud? Come on, that you would actually go and sit down at a table in a lunchroom with them? Would y'all sit down with people that you know don't like you? Would y'all sit down and try to make conversation with people that you know don't like you and have called you all these vile names after you filed an EEOC complaint on them? You gonna go sit down and try to have conversation about the very thing that they're accusing you of? This ain't passing the smell test. Zana, you hit on all points. He makes it sound like he was in the trenches. Girl, he don't know nothing about that life. But like I said, go ahead and win, Mr. Grumpy. Go ahead and win. Right. That was the pre-hire days. All right, would you say that's what the pre-hire days are for? He tried it. You know he tried it. The typical they're picking on me dramatics. Ain't that the truth? Okay. And of course he's crying and complaining in so many words that the city wasn't concerned about his well-being, and that instead they were actively investing Mr. Grumpy for no apparent reason, and going so far as to assemble a confidential file on him. Y'all, I'm done with it. I had to quit reading there. I mean, I highlighted a couple more things, but I'm done with it. Mr. Grumpy, listen, we wish you the best of luck. We gonna keep up with your case, Mr. Grumpy. Because if you win, Mr. Grumpy, boom, that's one for the team. Black Americans. We are going to be able to win some cases around here as long as you win. And to be honest, I mean, you got a good shot at winning, Mr. Grumpy, because 65.81% of the city in which you reside is white. So you won't be able to cry racism then. At least you have, people who are very similar to you, if you want to look at it that way. Okay? So we hope you win your case, Mr. Grumpy, because as soon as you win, the courts are going to be backlogged with say it, baby Shay, hell to the no. The courts are going to be backlogged because Black people all across America are going to start filing complaints. And just know this, the complaints that Black Americans are going to be filing, their accounts may appear to be similar to Mr. Grumpy's, but their accounts are going to be true. Okay? So win this for us, Mr. Grumpy. We need this. We need this. Yes, we're watching, Mr. Grumpy. We're wishing you well. What you say, Mel Cruz, exactly. We will be heard. Oh, hell to the yeah. So we don't wish you no ill will, Mr. Grumpy. We don't wish you no ill will. Like I said, I hope you got some cell phone footage. So that really is it, y'all. That is the podcast. Okay? Be sure to like, share, subscribe, replay gang, leave a comment, because you know I want to hear from you. And until next time, y'all, we will see you when we see you. Welcome to the Only Male Cruz Show, the podcast. I am the only Male Cruz. Be sure to hit the like button, share, subscribe, replay gang, leave a comment. You know I want to hear from you. Copyright disclaimer regarding fair use is in full effect. The views and opinions expressed in this show, you guessed it, they're all mine. Let's go to work.